Season 4, Episode 5. It's the Cup of Mets podcast. I'm Ian Bosniak, joined alongside by Matty DeSantis, as always. And Matt, not a great day for the Mets. Hoping it was a little bit of a better day for you, huh?
Yeah, man. I mean, I always get pretty hype when it's a day game. I can throw it on, one of my second or third monitors at work and just slide it off and watch it. But, today watching it, it wasn't great. The product, the past few days, um, I mean, 2 days ago they played well.
Yeah, I mean, 2 days ago they played well. The day before that they played well, and we'll
Yeah.
touch upon that. But I think that, coming into tonight, May 1st, the Mets were going for the series victory against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They had split the first two. Today they fell 4-2 and lost the series. They've now lost four of their last seven games. Again, the world's not ending. Okay. They're 21 and 11 in a good spot in the National League East. We know how talented the team is, but there are definitely some concerns. And I think that all four games, all four losses, first off, the two in Washington shouldn't have happened. Okay. The Mets should have
No, of
swept the
course not.
Nationals. Yeah. The
Yeah.
Mets should have swept the Nationals. But the last 2 days, though, last 2 days have definitely been interesting because finally we have a component of the team in the offense that's clicking, but now we're seeing the bullpen leak, leak with injuries, um, overusage, poor bullpen management, even on Mendoza's part. I'm going to go ahead and say that. But yeah, not the greatest showing today.
Yeah, I mean, I could agree on all of that. I don't think Mendoza has had a great past few series in terms of bullpen management. And like you said, we are seeing the Mets inefficiencies, especially in the bullpen. Guys are getting hurt. Um, and there's really not, when you look at our AAA pipeline, there's really not that many options there, especially for a lefty. So, I mean, Stearns might have to get creative here. It's concerning to see how some of these guys are playing in our lineup as well.
Sure.
Um, Juan
Yeah.
Soto did have 2 home runs today.
Thank the
I've
heavens.
said many times I'm not worried about him. I think he will come and have a great season, but there's some guys I am worried about.
Yo, after our lifetime of being fans, how did we get to the point where we're 21 and 11 and we're questioning things as Mets fans?
Nah, because dude, sometimes there are moves the Mets make that make you go like, what? Like
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen,
they were so
since
hot until McNeil got back.
oh, come on, don't blame it on Jeff. There's been
I'm
worse
just
shit.
kidding. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
there's been a lot of things. By the way, I just want to say now that you brought up McNeil, I don't know if you saw, but we put out a highlight reel of Brandon Nimmo's 9 RBI game, which occurred on Sunday, right? Today's Wednesday, Thursday? Oh no, it occurred on Monday. Jeez, I'm losing track of days here. But he chucks up 9 RBIs, and Maddie, you and I had recorded the week before. Did you see that comment that that person left?
Yeah, I actually saw it today. Yep.
CC'd you, yeah, because yo, listen, I agree. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the contract is the contract is the
The
contract.
contract is horrific.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
be realistic. He does. It's not like he does that often. It's
I
not like he
know.
does. Not like he does 3 RBIs often. Like,
I know, and it's funny too because I was talking to one of the kids that plays on my baseball team, and he's a big Mets fan, and I was saying, something that I'm thinking about is, Brandon Nimmo, he's adjusted his game to be more of like a run producer, right? Somebody that knocks in the runs, and he's always been a table setter, somebody that gets on base at a 400 clip, will hit 18 to 24 home runs, right? But he'll set the table.
yeah,
Obviously, it changed last year with Lindor going to lead off spot, Nimmo in the middle of the lineup. But I said to him literally the day before, I was like, you know what, man, I'm starting to think maybe they should go Lindor, Nimmo, and then Soto because if Nimmo changes his mindset and if he adjusts to say, hey, I'm not here to knock in 100 runs, I'm here to get on base, then all of a sudden you might have two ducks on the pond for Juan Soto, right? But
yeah.
then all of a sudden he goes ahead and he drives in 9 runs in a singular game, which was unreal. I mean, if you've been living under a rock, which I expect many who are listening, not living under a rock, he did drive in 9 on Monday against the Nationals in a 19-run outburst by the offense. But nonetheless, that's a good sign. But I also agree with you. There are definitely some areas in the lineup. But again, we'll keep it to the bullpen for right now. And since the last time we spoke, there have been injuries, and they have been crucial injuries. AJ Minter went down on the 27th of April. He might be done for the season. He might be done for the season. A lat injury, and lats are not fun. A, if you don't get surgery, they linger forever. But B, he's seeking second opinions. We're not 100% sure yet, but in a small sample size, 13 games, 11 innings, 164 ERA, 1.9 FIP. Losing him, massive blow.
It's honestly not good. And then some of these Stern signings, I mean, and trades, I mean, I get him at the time, but like they've backfired like completely. You see Siri go down, and injuries happen. We know injuries happen in every single sport, but like Siri,
And then
Minter,
yeah, and then
Madrigal, all those people got major league deals, and
yeah, look at Mania. Mania resigned. We haven't seen him. Montz has signed. We haven't seen him, right? But then
dude,
also,
almost every single person from this free agent class.
yeah. And then speaking about, again, the leaky bullpen, we didn't just lose one left-hander, we lost two. Danny Young, who was finally finding himself, 10 games, forget the 4.32 ERA. He had a 1.4 FIP, and he goes down. Apparently, he's been dealing with bicep and forearm
Dude, I think he
tightness
might
for
get Tommy
weeks,
John.
and he's probably going to get Tommy John.
Yeah. So,
So what? We have Genesis Cabrera up here?
nah, he looked like shit today.
Yeah, yeah, he did. I mean, dude, this bullpen, and it's just so funny because 2 weeks ago we're looking at the bullpen, and again, people jump to conclusions in April and in May, but you could look at the bullpen and say, this is a deep bullpen, man. This is a deep bullpen. But now you're looking at Edwin Diaz, who's been shaky in the ninth and is only good in safe situations and
Mhm.
1 run safe situations. Okay. Reed Garrett, who's been tremendous, but he was finally showed signs of being, a human being, gave up a run today. First time this year, so we'll give him a bye. Max Kranick's been great. Ryan Stanek has been struggling like crazy. He's got an ERA over 5. He blew the game last night. Wasker Brazaban has been great, but he started yesterday. That was his second start, being an opener. Jose Budo's been miserable recently. He looked a little bit better the other day, but he's not looked good. And then you got Genesis Cabrera. And how the hell here on May 1st is Ty Adcock on the club?
Yeah, I know. It's honestly kind of concerning. And there's no lefties really at AAA. I saw they brought once they brought up Cabrera, they promoted a prospect from AA to AAA, a lefty. I think his name Felipe De La Cruz.
Mm. Whatever happened to Nate Lavender, by the way?
Got traded to the Rays. I
Ah,
forgot. I forgot what deal that was, but I pretty sure he's a Ray.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, look at that. I mean, listen, over the course of a 162 game span, the bullpen is always going to be a carousel. You're going to have players that are
Yeah.
in for a game or two, and then all of a sudden they're DFA'd and we don't see them again, right? Uh,
Mhm.
but again, today, after coming off a bullpen game and yesterday, you have Kodai Senga go out there and throw 87 pitches through four. He was laboring. Only allowed 5 hits, only gave up 1 run. He walked 3 batters, struck out 6. He picked up the loss, but it felt like every count was 3-2. Worked his pitch count up, which, I mean, kudos to the Diamondbacks. They were laying off the forkball. But then you got Genesis Cabrera coming in, only records 1 out in the fifth, gives up a run, walks a guy, gives up a hit. Max Kranick comes in. He gives up a solo home run to Perdomo. Okay. He went 2 2/3, though, only allowed 1 run, 2 strikeouts. And then Reed Garrett gave up the run in an inning and 2/3. And then you look at last night, Brosban started, went two. Brandon Waddell, the lefty who was called up, hadn't pitched since 2021, was fantastic. By the way, Rob and I were sitting behind the Mets dugout, and Waddell's family was right to the left of us. It was a really nice thing to watch.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and then Ryan Stanek comes in, only records 2 outs, gives up 3 hits, gives up 2 runs. Chris Davinsky, we also saw, he was also DFA'd, former world champion Astro. 2 innings, 2 runs, 2 hits, a walks, 2 strikeouts. I mean, we're seeing a carousel of arms, and they're not necessarily producing. And it's worrisome, especially because we know that the starters are pitching better than they probably are.
Yeah, I mean for sure, but when you think of the arms being shuttled in, they're crap arms. They're not like anybody special. I think at some point, if the bullpen keeps going down the wrong way, you gotta consider maybe the Garrett Crochet type move where you'd put maybe a Sprout as a long inning reliever or something. Dude, these guys are just fucking rotting at AAA. And I
I
mean, I
mean,
guess it's a good problem to have. I mean, we signed some guys on 1 year deals and stuff like that, but there's got to be a point where soon him or Tidwell gets a shot.
yeah, Blades look great.
I think Blade is gonna be the first to come up.
I agree. I agree. But again, it's not. I see what you're saying. You may as well, if Tidwell has the stuff, you may as well see if he can give you like 2 innings out of the pen or something along those lines. But right now, I mean, the rotation is not the problem. It is the bullpen and its injuries and its poor performances. And, you know, the offense today, I mean, the game was pretty much, we'll say it here. I mean, obviously, again, they lost 42. Juan Soto responsible for both runs. He hit 2 solo home runs. We're finally seeing him come into his own. And being at the game last night, I gotta say, first inning, Lindor doubles. He ripped the ball to right. And at that point, I was like, oh, he's so close. I mean, you and I were texting earlier today. He was so close. He hit two
Yeah.
fly balls deep to left center field. And then today, cracks two, also gets on via a walk. So bumps that OPS up to 822. But the offense, they left 7 men on base. They were only 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. I mean, Zach Gallen was in control. But it just is, you look at it and it's 2-1 Diamondbacks, right?
Mhm.
And then Max Kranick gives up a home run, and then it becomes 3-1. And then Soto hits a home run that would have tied the game at 2. And then Reed Garrett comes in and gives up another solo home run and just puts the game out of reach. And then transitioning to yesterday, which to me is the bigger thing, because listen, Zach Gallen, he's struggled this year, but he's a great pitcher. Okay. So
Yeah.
the Mets were to be tamed at some point, but last night was more concerning, and I want to get your take on this, right? So the Mets took a 1-0 lead on a Mark Vientos home run. He's finally coming into his own, thank goodness. Then Ryan Stanek allowed a couple guys on, Perdomo, 2-run RBI single. And then you go to the eighth inning. Okay. You're down 2-1,
Mhm.
and Chris Davinsky comes in, makes his Mets debut, has a great inning.
Yeah.
It's a 1-run game. You have a $20 million closer available, and he was available. He was not off limits yesterday.
Another shit contract.
Another
Gone.
shit contract, but okay, all right.
Yeah.
Mendoza should have went to Edwin Diaz there, and Diaz we know is awful with large leads.
Yeah.
He is even flimsy with 3-run leads. 1-run leads, tie game, even down a run. He's normally great.
Mhm.
Why did Mendoza extend? I mean, listen, sure, you want to save Diaz, you want to save your bullpen, but by extending Davinsky into a second inning, I felt like Mendoza punted last night, because then ultimately they came back, they scored 2 runs, and then they had the bases juiced at one point, and they could have ended up winning.
Yeah. I know. I know. Like we said before, like there has been some really iffy calls by Mendoza the past week or so.
I was sitting there just so confused. Brandon Waddell, 4 1/3 shutout inning, 4 strikeouts, 3 hits. Mind you, he's a lefty and he was optioned. Okay, so I understand you want available arms. And then, okay, Ryan Stanek blows it. Chris Davinsky gives you a solid inning. You're really going to go back to him for another one? And then you go back to him for another one, and then all of a sudden the bats come alive in the ninth, right? And Tyrone Taylor hits a solo shot, makes it 4-2. The bases were loaded. Then Jesse Winker tries to swing out of his shoes to hit a walk-off grand slam, grounds into a fielder's choice, which scores a run. But the game just kind of went. Mark Vientos swinging out of his shoes. And then I guess the final question for you is that would you have put Luis Torrens up instead of Francisco Alvarez?
Yes, I would have.
Because
Personally, my reasoning behind that is because Alvarez has not been in any position to warrant, I guess, that big. He's been in the minors the past few weeks, was hurt. I think that was the right call. Torrens has come up big for us early beginning of the season, so gotta sometimes go with what works. And in the moment, it just didn't work.
absolutely. And, hindsight is 2020, and you could say if Mendoza did this or Mendoza did that. And I think from a coach's perspective, you look at it, it was April 30th, first month of the season. All right, let the kid get his shot.
Yeah.
With that said, you also realize you're not looking for a grand slam to walk it off. You just need 2 runs to win the game 5-4.
Hmm.
And who's the more contact oriented hitter? It's Torrens. So that's my one thing is that, again, could have gone in a couple different directions, but there was no reason why. I no, listen, it could have gone either way, right?
Yeah.
Alvarez has come up big before, but the thing is, as you mentioned, he's been down. He hasn't been here. And then on top of it, Torrens is a more contact oriented hitter, and we just needed a knock there, even a bloop. But bottom line is that you want to get your kid in those big moments. I get it, but it just so happens that he was swinging out of his shoes, and
He's been, I feel like, since I don't know. I just ugh.
yeah, that swing in Washington was really nice. And then as soon as we came home, it's kind of like dissipated a little bit.
Yeah, and he's another person that I put along my I'm worrying about list.
Yeah,
Just feel like a lot of these top Mets prospects just like have not panned out.
no, I know. I again,
You
it's
look
too.
at him and you go back and remember how excited we all were for Ahmed Rosario and Dominic Smith, thinking you actually had the future at those positions and stuff.
How about Lastings Millage and Fernando Martinez?
Literally, the list can keep going on and on and on.
I know, dude. I know. And then when you look at the lineup, and then again, lost 2-3 to Arizona, it sucked. But it is, the first month of the season. But something that really pissed me off, and again, I was questioning the bullpen management last night. Did Mendoza punt the game going Davinsky for two? And then should he have thrown Torrens up there for Alvarez? But bottom line here, the offense came back to earth
Hmm.
yesterday, and they went 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, that's that that
That's
that's not a
unacceptable.
recipe for wins. So
No, no.
maybe you'll beat the Long Island Ducks at 0 and 10 and runners in scoring position, but you're not going to beat a major league ball club.
It's like so you either need like RBI walks or you need home runs, solo shots. Like I have no idea. You know what I mean? And that's not a recipe for success. And the Mets had Corbin Burns on the ropes. On the ropes. He looked like shit in the first 2 innings. He could not find the plate whatsoever.
Yeah, I know.
And then you just let him off easy like that. And he picked up the win. But that was his
The
first.
Mets seriously need to regroup. They need an off day really bad.
They do, but they don't have one
I know.
until next week.
I know. And they have a tough month. They
Yeah.
need to somehow come out this month over 500. It's a tough
Yeah.
month. They
Yeah.
got
It's a
the Yankees, they got the Dodgers. I think they go to Arizona once.
They go to Arizona after St. Louis, which is upcoming. So they'll see the Diamondbacks again in 3 games. Their next off day is next Thursday. And for this entire month, beyond today, the next 4 Thursdays they have off. So outside of that, they're playing one, two, three, four. They're playing 6 consecutive games,
Who else do they play on that road trip? Do you have the schedule up?
Yeah, so they got three in St. Louis, three in Arizona. Then they come home, three against the Chicago Cubs, who are hitting the crap out of the ball, three against the Pirates. So we'll probably see Paul Skeens. Then we go to the Bronx, we go to Boston, then we come
Mhm.
back, play the Dodgers, the White Sox, and the Rockies.
You say
Eh,
White Sox?
Yeah,
All right. So we got them in the Rockies.
yeah, we got them in the
We
Rockies.
gotta
Sweep them.
sweep both of them, but knowing us, we'll lose one to Colorado.
No, stop it. Stop it. Come on, positivity, positivity. We're 10 games above 500. It's May
I
1st, you
know,
know.
I know. I'm
And we got
positive.
we got to look for silver linings here. But again, I think that we've summed it up in the fact that the last four losses, we're not going to dive completely into that. We're not going to dive into the national series because it's 3 days old. The bottom line is the
Yeah.
two losses shouldn't have occurred. And it was another Ryan Stanek blowing a game. And,
Mhm.
again, the Mets lost those. They should have swept it. And then having these two games kind of within your reach and not
Yeah.
being able to overcome it really sucks. Really sucks. So I guess my question to you is, put on your GM cap for a second.
Hmm.
You see the bullpen. It's obviously the issue right now. How are you patching the bridge to Edwin Diaz? You got Reed Garrett. Max Kranick's more of a long man. Brazoban also, in a way, right? Budo as well. How are you bridging that gap?
Uh, I mean, I'm not really even sure who would be available via trade. I'm
Hmm.
sure that they're gonna have their eyes on the DFA wire. They're gonna probably do anything they can to get some help. I mean, Waddell looked solid. I wouldn't if Danny Young's gonna actually be out with the UCL injury. Why not bring Waddell up? Have him as a long inning reliever, but he only played 4 innings for us so far, so we're not sure if that was just a one-time thing or something like that.
Yeah.
But they're gonna need something.
Yeah. And, the Kevin Hergets of the world, the Chris Davinskis of the world, it's not going to cut it. It's
Those
not going to
guys,
cut it.
those guys aren't winning you like championship or a championship, a playoff game. Like,
No, unless it's right after a bullpen game like we saw yesterday, okay? Or it's a guy, the last man on the roster who is just taking up a spot. Yeah, like they should not be out there if this team is focused on, winning a World Series because without a
yeah,
bullpen, we've seen how stray you can go, right? And somebody that I'm looking at, I would love to see Daniel Nunez back up shortly.
yeah,
He's tossed in 9 games. He hasn't been terrific, a 4 ERA, but 12 Ks in 9 innings. I think that he is probably going to end up returning at some point, and I would love to see Ty Adcock get the hell out of here. Even though he
yeah,
was the one bullpen arm today that didn't allow a run, I think it's not essential with some of the splits that some of the pitchers have, but I think it's could be important to hold a lefty in the pen.
yeah,
So keeping, Genesis Cabrera up here for the time being, I guess you can do it. But if he puts out another performance like you did today, then it's not going to cut it.
yeah. No, for sure, for sure. They definitely need to figure out what they're gonna do with that, especially if these guys are gonna be out for the year.
Yeah. And just quickly, last 7 games for Budo, 5.59 ERA. Last 7 games for Ryan Stanek, a 10.13 ERA. Last 7 games for Max Kranick, a 5.23 ERA. And again, we're giving grace to Kranick because he's been incredible, but it's the truth. So when you're just looking at these arms, something has to give. And, something that I've even thought about is look for a team, maybe even like the Detroit Tigers. Andrew Chafin is on the Tigers, and he's
No,
a
he signed with somebody today, a major league deal.
mother.
Washington.
Of course.
Yeah, and then he'll probably pitch good, and then they'll probably flip him for something good at the deadline.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like again, where do you turn right now in May? And it's got to be internal,
Yeah,
but I think that it's going to come down to seeing if any of these internal pieces can work. And then additionally, I don't know, David Robertson's still out there. He'd be a nice setup man, but I know
I
the
heard
Mets
I,
prob
I heard he wants the full quote. He wants 10 mil.
yeah, and that would put the Mets in further tax penalty issues and
Yeah, they're
whatnot.
not doing that.
Yeah, they're not doing that, and so then it really comes down to, all right, who has expendable players on their 40-man roster that the Mets see value in
Hmm.
that they can get for cash considerations. And we've seen trades like that occur. Hello,
Right.
Luis Torrens, right?
For good
But
old
again,
today.
a lot of teams tend to hold on to the arms because they know that their bullpen will fall apart at some point as well, because it always happens. Injuries, poor performance, options available. It's a part of the game. But the Mets need to definitely solidify this bullpen in some way, shape, or form because the last thing I want to do is record again next week and see the same type of bullpen performances occur in St. Louis and then in Arizona because that would really be alarming.
Oh, it definitely would be. We need to, like I said before, we need to have a good month. I mean, we started the year great, but we need to keep it going, and that's the most important thing. Like you look back on these games in September, and you're like, "Fuck, I wish we won these." So,
Hmm. And that's why I think last night, and I would love to wrap up with this Dimeback series because I want to forget about it. But
hmm.
that's why I felt like last night it was kind of as if you're looking at it and it's 2-1. You just got a clean inning from Chris Davinsky, who you just called up. You have Edwin Diaz available. How many times have the Mets come back? They seem to put the pressure on the other team every single night if they're down, right? Whether they come back and win or not, they're always doing it. So what makes a one-run game out of the question where you throw Davinsky back? And that's why I just felt like, listen, I love Mendy. I love him. I think he's smart. He knows what he's doing. He's articulate. He's strategical, but that was something where I'm more so blaming the offense. They had so many opportunities, but again, this is a game that I hope we don't look back on and say, wow, Mendy kind of punted the game, wanted to preserve Diaz, save him for the next day, went back to Davinsky, and then the Mets couldn't mount the comeback that he let up. So that's why I was kind of pissed off about yesterday more than today.
Hmm.
Because again, when a pitcher's on, and Zach Gallen looked really good outside of the pitch to Soto.
Yeah, absolutely. Gallon is a good player.
He's great. Zach Gallen's
Never understood why the Marlins traded him, but the Marlins are also literally dumbasses. So.
he's been a part of two massive trades. He initially came up with St. Louis and was a part of the deal that sent him to Miami for and Sandy Alcantara for Marcelo
Mm,
Ozuna,
yeah,
and then he was shipped off to Arizona for Jazz Chisholm.
yeah, gotcha.
S- Yeah, so Zach Gallen's been around, but he's a hell of a pitcher, and he's owned New York baseball this year. I think his other win came against the Yankees. He struck out 13 over 6 or some shit like that. So I guess he likes
Crazy.
pitching in the Big Apple. I know that we mentioned the Mets' sole run production today from Juan Jose Soto Pacheco.
Hmm.
Love to see it. Again, neither of us are worried. Just looking beyond him, the offense. I know you said a couple players that you're a little concerned about. But isn't it so nice to see Francisco Lindor? I just feel like I mean, we say it every week, he needs to be named captain, but over these last 15 games, 367, 441, 633 clip with 5 home runs, 10 RBIs, uh, 8 strikeouts, and 60 ABs. I mean,
Yeah,
listen,
he's playing amazing baseball. He
unreal.
really is. I love Francisco. I love him.
He's incredible. He's just really turned on the Jets, and it's great to see because without him in front of Soto, then Soto's seeing no pitches whatsoever. So
Mm.
it's good to see Lindor getting the feet underneath him, and hopefully it continues, and I think it will. And it's crazy to say, but the weakest link of his game so far has been the defense. He's made a couple boneheaded errors, which you
Yeah.
don't normally see from Lindor. But again, Lindor has turned on the Jets. And then you mentioned Jeff McNeil before. Jeff McNeil coming back. I know that you were joking. Okay. He did hit a home run and he is hitting 316 through 19 ABs. So F off, Matt. All right.
Mhm.
Um, but I want to talk about the flexibility that Jeff McNeil now provides the Mets because he was taking reps in center field in St. Lucie as well as in Binghamton. Comes up, plays center field. I think he played three positions the other night. He played center, left, and second base, which is phenomenal.
Mhm.
But with Jose Siri going down, I think it's really great that McNeil is now expendable a little bit in the outfield, especially, and then it also opens up the door for Luis Angel Acuna to play every day at second base.
Yeah, and they need to keep Acuna. He offers way too much to not have him in the lineup. His speed, he hits nice singles, he hits doubles. That's just what we need.
He's got such a nice and pretty swing. If
I love
he,
it.
not necessarily saying height because he's 23 years old. I don't know how much he's going to grow from being 5'8". I think he is who he is. But
Hmm.
if he could put on a little bit more muscle, he did hit three home runs last year. He hasn't hit one yet this year, but he's hitting 288 through 73 ABs. If he could just put on a little bit more muscle, okay, you can't really predict if he's going to be his brother, right? That's so I don't think that's in the cards, right? Ronald Acuna Jr. is on another level, but when you just look at some of Luis Angel's advanced metrics, he's
Yeah.
not barreling up the ball and he doesn't have a high hard hit percentage. But with that said, his expecting batting average is within the 82nd percentile. His whiff percentage, 78th percentile, and his strikeout percentage, 65th percentile. His base running value is within the 97th percentile. So you're looking at somebody that's right now a contact oriented hitter, getting on base, not striking out, doing great things on the base paths, and on top of it, he's a great defender.
Yeah. And his defense provides a lot of value, just like him on base, just like he's much needed on this team, so they better not get any ideas.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will. But I do.
Brett Beatty was scratched from today's game.
Was he?
Yeah, from Syracuse's game.
How come?
Mystery.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need him, right? Am I missing something? We don't need him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I'm
He
like,
was scratched.
yeah, that's why. I mean, listen, with our bench gang, I don't want to do anything with it. I love Jose Azokar. I enjoy watching him. I think he's a fun ball player to watch.
Yeah,
Kind of
he's not
reminds
bad.
kind of reminds me of watching like Jonathan Arias a couple of years ago. Just like
Ugh.
I, he's
He
my
is just
fantasy. He's my
really
fantasy
fucking
team boy.
setting the bar high here.
I know. I know. Listen, we're Mets fans, so
Yeah,
we got to kind of dip into
true.
the humor pool at some point. And then last but not least, I know that we spoke about a little bit Francisco Alvarez. Don't be too dramatic here, Maddie. Okay. What is your actual confidence level in him right now?
Don't be too dramatic. My confidence level in him is probably a 5.
Okay.
Dude, his swing looks like shit. His feet are moving all over the place. His left foot is like
Yeah.
looking at third base, and it's like he's swinging at shit.
He's pulling off the ball.
I don't like what I'm saying, really.
He's pulling off the ball. He's stepping out. I don't know if it's
This
the
ain't the kid that was ripping 25 home runs at Double A.
no, no. And I felt like in spring before the injury, I felt like with the new batting stance, we were seeing him get to the ball quicker.
Mhm.
But now it's almost like he has his hands out front, which is where, you want to be, but he comes back a little bit more instead of having the bat back and then having to come through the zone. He's got his hands out in front, again, as I said, where they want to be, but he's still going up, and that's making his swing longer. giving him a difficult time catching up to a lot of the fastballs. I mean, we saw, who was it, Thompson last night or Shelby Miller? I don't know, but they were blowing fastballs by him.
Yeah.
And he is somebody that has the power to catch up to them. So that's definitely something that I'm going to keep my eye on. Hopefully, Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes are working with him day in and day out because he's got too much talent. I don't think he's going to flop. He's only 23 years old. He still has a lot of time to grow, but we need him to start performing because the fact that we were even discussing, yeah, maybe Torrens may have been a better fit in the ninth inning last night is concerning because we got Torrens for 100K,
Yeah.
right? Uh,
Still the fucking century.
yeah, steal of the century is right. The other part about Francisco, though, that I got to say is I love having him back behind the plate. And you even saw, I think it was, when was it? Washington, I believe, when the Mets won 2-0 in Washington, when he actually hit the 2-run shot, Diaz came in ninth inning. He walked the first batter and looked erratic as anything. And Alvarez walked out to the mound, took his time, and had a long conversation with him, waited for the umpire to break it up. And immediately Diaz came back and struck out the side. And we saw that last year with Francisco Alvarez so much. And we've mentioned it on the podcast. Even when he wasn't hitting, the Mets
Yeah.
were winning ball games when he was in the lineup based upon his communication, his relationships, his game calling, himself and the pitchers, right? His relationships with the pitchers, they have confidence in him that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that aspect of his game has not hasn't missed a beat, so that's good. But
Yeah.
bottom line is in a lineup where Nimmo, Vientos, they're both starting to come into their own. Soto as well, whereas Lindor and Alonso have been hitting from the get go. Mets aren't getting any production out of the DH hole. Center field, not much outside of the last couple of games. A guy like Francisco Alvarez, we got to get the ball moving. We got to see that 20 home run power, what he did in 2023, because that will go a long way with all the other advancements that he's made in his game. All righty, Maddie. So as we look ahead and we wrap up episode 5 here of season 4, Cup Mets podcast, 3 games upcoming in St. Louis. It'll be Clay Holmes taking on Sonny Gray, game 1 tomorrow night. Tyler McGill and Eric Fetty. Eric,
Fetty, I'm ready.
I was just about to say Fetty's somebody that I would look at if I were the Mets and
Fetty's
over the.
somebody I've been banging the drum for like 2 years.
I know. Well, he's struggling a little bit. Hopefully the struggles continue this weekend. And then on Sunday, I think it's Griffin Canning per Mets.com. It's TBD, but it is Griffin Canning's spot in the
Hmm.
rotation. So I believe Griffin Canning's going, and he'll be opposed by Andre Palante, who we saw a short while ago in Queens. And then we head back to Arizona, where you can assume we'll see Peterson, Senga, and Clay Holmes, unless they have another opener game, which hopefully not. Matt, give me your predictions. Next 6 games, what's the Mets record?
I think 4-2.
4-2.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I asked you first, and you said 4-2 because I was gonna say 5-2, but the math doesn't even add up there.
Yeah, yeah.
Shit. I'm I'm gonna say 4-2 as well. I think they take 2 of 3 in both St. Louis and Arizona. But then again, baseball's a
Yeah.
funny game. For all we know, the Mets could lose the next 6, and then we're panicking. Hopefully not. I'm just being a Mets fan. Positivity only here on
Yes,
the Cup
sir.
Mets podcast. As we wrap up, remember to give us a follow on Instagram, YouTube, and X. We are at Cup of Mets. Subscribe to the podcast, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Download the SeatGeek app. Punch in code Cup of Mets at first purchase to get $20 off. And last but not least, head over to smackandsunflowerseeds.com. Punch in code Ian05405 to get 10% off. And being in the baseball season, dude, I have been going through smacking seeds. I actually think I have some in my teeth right now from earlier today. So,
Dude, they're
uh,
so addicting. I
so
still have
addicted.
some from the playoffs.
Yeah, dude, I was cracking down on the crack pepper earlier today. Oh boy.
That one is such a good one too.
It's
What it,
so
what do you think? What's your favorite?
I'm not the right person to ask because if anybody has any sort of seasonings or rubs or what the fuck, what word am I looking for? Sauce. Jeez, Louise. Sauce. If you have anything garlic parm, I'm gonna immediately say garlic parm.
Yeah. No,
That's
the
just a
garlic parms are good. That's for
that's a
sure.
me thing. I like the cinnamon churro as well, but like when I'm cracking seeds during a ball game, I need something more savory, you know?
Yeah.
So
The cinnamon churros nice on the couch when you're watching TV or something. That's like a sweet treat.
yeah, I mean, I don't know about you. I'm not sitting on the couch eating sunflower seeds, are you? Is that
Mm,
something that you do?
honestly, I used to. I used to for sure. I haven't in a while.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Learn something new
I'm,
about Maddie. Pop into
yeah,
his
man.
apartment and see him chowing down on some cinnamon churro sunflower
Yep.
seeds, 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. Nice, dude.
Absolutely, bro.
Awesome. Alrighty. So with that, again, thank you very much for joining us. For Maddie DeSantis, I'm Ian Bosniak. We will see you in a couple of days. Let's go, Mets, and good night, everybody.